Hello, hello, welcome friends in YouTube land. We are jumping right into a Hakuryu video. This is the, I'm sure I'm saying it wrong, speech that I always give, but yes, this is the Japanese legendary tier aircraft carrier, right? So we will do a quick pre-drop of torpedoes. I know I've kind of explained this in some of my other carrier videos as well, so sorry if I sound like a broken record. And we will drop our fighters here since we see enemy airplanes approaching as well. But yeah, so we dumped some torpedoes early on there just so that we're not flying the full squad over top of enemy ships, especially early on in the beginning of the game when nobody's had any like damage done to their ships, right? So as the game goes on, people lose AA mounts and stuff like that, and so usually you know, AA fire isn't as bad later in the game. Ships are a little bit more spread apart. They've taken some damage, maybe lost some of those AA mounts. Yeah, but you can see even still with the shielding consumable there, we were losing planes pretty quick, right? So we dumped our torpedoes and then ditched the last, you know, wave or run, whatever you want to call it, that would have come from that squad, right? Because by the time I circled around, they probably all would have died, right? So we're probably still losing some airplanes because we did that, but we at least saved those first two, right? We'll have them for later. With the bombers here, now you only get sort of 3 runs here. You can see they're divided down the bottom middle there into groups of 3. So that's what you will have for each run that you do, right? So here, you know, it's the second run. I'm able to find a ship that's a little more singled out, right? So I'm not going to do a pre-drop there because this way, hopefully, so I'm using my shield consumable as we take heavy fire here. And then Yamatos are a little bit better to hit towards the rear of the ship, but I was a little bit too far. I think one of the bullets missed there, or one of the bombs, or maybe 2 of the bombs. But as you can see, so we're losing planes quick, but we might be able to get our second run in. So some of these guys are basically just, you know, the Suicide Squad, right? Then we know they're not going to make it, right? But so we'll do a little bit better with our lineup here and where we hit the ship for this second run, which is probably great because it looked like we triggered a fire on that first run, and then he put it out, and then we triggered another fire, right? So that one's going to burn, and that's where we're going to get kind of a lot of our damage dealt throughout the game, is those sort of damage over time status effects, right? Those are what you want, right? So those sacrificial planes did their job well, right? I am going out for him again just because I know a single fire isn't going to destroy him, and he's also he's an easy target right now is part of the other problem, you know. And you notice we don't have destroyers in this game. You guys know how I feel about going after destroyers as a carrier. We have some videos out there about that, but yes, I do like to at least spot destroyers for you know, for my teammates when I play as the aircraft carrier. This particular aircraft carrier, with both the bombs and torpedoes, it is really tough to hit destroyers. So I typically, like, I'll give it the good old college try, but a lot of times I'll try and keep destroyers spotted, and if I don't notice allies shooting at said destroyers, that is on them, right? But yes, it is a team game. If you don't cooperate, a lot of times you lose, right? So that Yamato is probably going to go down if by the time we get there. But you notice we're not ticking damage up anymore, so he did get his damage gone back finally, right? But he isn't spotted. That's part of why I dropped planes over here as well, so you can see our. We're going to drop some more too, where we drop fighters here. To try and help keep planes spotted, you definitely don't want to drop fighters too close to enemy ships because they go down really easily and quickly, right? So you specifically want to avoid dropping those anywhere near enemy ships, and then you kind of want to put them over top of, you know, typically over top of allied ships, or in places where you can help keep enemy ships spotted, right? So we'll take, since this other battleship here is kind of in a nice little spot right in front of us here, we'll try and get these bombs off on him so we're not flying over them too much, and then we do get lucky there and trigger that fire on him as well. So we'll switch back to torpedoes. Typically I like to try and alternate here, right, from, you know, to kind of allow you know, planes to come back to the carrier and regenerate or rebuild, whatever you want to call it, right? So yeah, and we'll do a pre-drop here. So yeah, with the torpedo bombers, you can see they're in groups of 2, so we get 4 runs total. But we'll send 2 planes back to the ship so that we're not, we're not exposing them to all the anti-air fire that we're about to experience flying over top of these battleships here, right? So we'll see what we can do with this Colombo. And then I'm going to trigger the engine boost cooldown thingy, whatever you want to call it, to try and quickly get around here and see if we can't get another run on this, what was this, a Conqueror, or this British battleship, right? Because he put a fire out earlier, and so if we can trigger a flood, that will be glorious for us, right? So we did that in order to try and, and you notice we lost the rest of the planes, right? So we did get a hit, but we didn't trigger a flood, so wah, wah. But yeah, so that's why we did that. We used that consumable to make sure we had enough speed and time to before we lost all the planes, right? So we'll do another similar thing here too. And then I noticed the this rune over here kind of trying to sneak his way into the B cap, and I'm like, you know what? He's kind of all alone. But I do think they have pretty decent AA, so this might not be the greatest run. But one thing that I do like to do, yeah, look at all that anti-air fire. One thing that I do like to do is try and flush out cruisers, right? And because a lot of times, I'm not, they're a little bit tougher to hit, but you see we do put a bomb hit there. But a lot of times going after them as the carrier, especially when they're like hunkered down behind cover, will flush them out, and as you can see, it's working great. Like now our battleship is taking these nice, awesome broadside shots at him, and so that's where the magic is going to happen, right? So, but we will do our best to try and get at least one more hit. Nope, denied. But yeah, so that was that worked out really well for us, because it was just like a perfect example of why I just go after them, because then a lot of times it forces them to move away from their cover. And sometimes it's like, you do it, if you would have just sat there and took the hits, you would have survived, because now he's out in the open waters, right? So that's good for us. Somebody else can play with that guy now, right? So it looked like these the enemy bombers here were going to come this way over top of our allies over at A. So I flew over them and dropped fighters, and then it looked like he started changing directions when he saw me. So we dropped the fighters kind of in between, and we actually do get some shot. Our fighters actually do shoot some of his planes down. We got 5 shot down there. So that worked out really well for us. I do notice our carrier is spotted by the airplanes right now, and there is that cruiser that we were picking on. So I did autopilot the carrier to move forward a little bit, and I did it probably just 1 square too much, right? Because now we're good. We're good. It's unspotted now. But yeah, I was like, maybe I pushed him a little too much. So we'll see if we get these torpedo hits. We're gonna at least get the 1. Okay, and then yeah, you can see some of these battleships just have just crazy anti-air, as you can see, right? So we'll drop these and see if we get any luck. We weren't able to line them up as much as we wanted to, right? But yeah, so for those of you who don't know, you can autopilot your carrier, so don't waste time trying to drive it around manually. Go into the map view, and you can hold X on whatever square on the map you want it to go to, and it'll go there. So there goes down that rune that we flushed out from behind cover, right? So I count that as a kill for us, right? Otherwise, he would have been hiding back there. And then I'm going to take my time a little bit more trying to line up a shot for this this battleship here this time. It is kind of funny to watch as you circle around battleships. A lot of times they will... we're taking fire from this stupid airplane here. It is fun to watch battleships try and avoid the carrier, like trying to avoid the airplanes, because a lot of times they'll avoid torpedoes from me, and then they'll just sail broadside to another battleship and just get wiped out, right? So they're paying attention to the airplanes, but for some reason, you battleship players really hate airplanes. They're like, I want somebody else to kill me. And so they do, right? But because we took our time, circled around, and lined up that shot, we did a much better job. And while we were circling around, we stayed far enough away to not be taking anti-air fire. So now we'll get a full second run on this battleship, right? We may have pulled the trigger a little too early there, and we did, yeah. So, but that could have been good, right? We didn't suck. But yeah, so we'll continue to pick on him if he doesn't get finished off by our teammates in there. There goes our curve first. He may have been hanging out by me to try and get like will to rebuild or something, but as you can see, the enemy airplanes have been dropping fighters over top of that battleship out there as well, so we may be in for some trouble here. Oh, I don't see him anymore. They're like they're gone. All right, so we're just trying to judge which direction he's going to turn so that we can line up our torpedoes appropriately, right? He'll probably see us coming and probably turn into us, so we'll try and get this shot. We'll shoot a little bit short, depending on what he's going to do, right? And then, yep, so we got some more fighter kills there. Doing good dropping those guys. And, yes, we get an incapacitation. And we're, yep, some of those British ships are just, the AA is brutal on them. So I feel like with this this carrier, the planes are pretty vulnerable. I would say, you know, it's just my personal thoughts and feelings, right? So the pre-drops are kind of key, and then but the armaments are great. Like getting torpedo hits and bomb hits is pretty powerful, right? So when you do get the hits, they're great. But yeah, you lose planes quickly, and so if you're not managing, you know, AA fire. Like we've been trying to do at least. There we go with high caliber along with that kill. You'll find yourself towards the like late game stage and not have any planes to you know launch, right? So you'll be literally just driving around with nothing to do other than watch your team lose, right? So going after carriers is always tough as the carrier. You're going to take a lot of AA fire as you see here. So we're maxing out our speed and our heat to see if we can at least get something here. The score is pretty even at the moment, right? So I get one bomb off and no good. So ideally I was like, oh, maybe if I can trigger a fire, then like my ally can trigger some, you know, status effects, right? Can trigger another fire or something, right? But that did not work out for us, right? But we are up to 164,000 damage here. This cruiser behind us, you know, we can go after him. I think that's probably the best choice at the moment. That way our cruiser can spot him and shoot at him. You can see our cruiser shooting him. And hopefully try and take some cover himself, right? But it does look like their carrier is going after our cruiser as well, has the same exact idea, right? So we'll help out as much as we can. He's got some decent AA. You can see quite a bit firing after us. So I dropped those torpedoes early to try and kind of just either get lucky or force him into a certain direction, right? And then now we're going to take like our real shot at him, right? And then our cruiser finishes him off, right? So we'll hold on to these and see if we can't find their carrier. And then, yeah, I'm going to autopilot our carrier. So now we're up quite a bit. I think even if we lose our cruiser to their carrier, we're still going to be up plenty of points. So I just went and told my carrier to go in and basically cap zone B, right? But doubt he's going to make it there in the minute and a half, right? There goes our cruiser. So we are up 400 points to their 250, right? So we'll get a torpedo run here, and then we'll go back to the carrier and pick up some fresh bombers. As you can see, we don't have the full squad, right? So the sort of the third run is short one plane, right? And then we give their carrier clear skies medal. We do trigger a flood on them though, so we'll have to see if we can even make it there in this 1 minute. So this is kind of why I think it's really important to make sure that you're maneuvering your carrier around, right? So like, granted, this is late stage in the game, and the only thing that's left is, oh man, we're gonna die from these guys. This is gonna be bad. But yeah, this is kind of why I think it's simple. Look at how fast we go down from these fighters. But yeah, that's why it's important to move your carrier around the map, right? So you're not spending a whole lot of time flying to targets, so that this allows you to do more runs at enemy ships and thus get more damage, participate more, and give your team a better chance of winning, right? So I always advocate for that. Don't, you know, if you're kind of a beginner carrier player, you know, there's a lot of people that just hit the reverse on their carrier and let it back up all the way into the map. I think that's totally fine if you're a beginner, right? Like, or even just leaving it where it is. But, you know, do remember you can autopilot it. So if you do get spotted or something, you could always use the autopilot to move further away or maneuver or whatever. But I think for later stages, like higher tiers, and, you know, if you want to be a little more competitive, you kind of have to try and manage everything, right? So do pre-drops, you know, autopilot your carrier to make sure they're sort of within range of the battle, but being unspotted, right? Like that kind of thing, and you know, don't get yourself into too much trouble. But we end the game with 171,000 damage. That's pretty good for a carrier, and then we do get the top of the leaderboard to you. A spot there as the carrier, which I am always impressed with myself when that happens. I think if you're top half as the carrier, like they're challenging to play as, and you're always going to upset people because you're not going to play how your teammates want you to play, right? But we do have some AA perks for inspirations, because I always like to get rid of people that try and do the carrier on carrier action, right? And then so we do pick some of these AA armaments here. For this one, right? So this one's kind of like, do I want better range or what? But yeah, so we go torpedo damage here. And then, so I like the torpedo bombers with this ship better, so I'm picking all torpedoes when I have that option. And then, yeah, we're still picking the offensive options for these later tiers. And then fully packed gives you, you know, the extra speed boost, fighters, and shield consumables for both sets of, you know, torpedo bombers and the HE bombers, right? So I always kind of advocate for that. At least that's my preference. I like that. I like having extras of those. But that is our video for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching all the way through, as usual. I love you guys here that are at the end of the video with me. Always welcome, right? Good times, good times. But yeah, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I am on the struggle bus that is YouTube, trying to get my channel a little more attention, right? So, but yes, we are doing World of Warships videos every day, so we will see you tomorrow.